The drama begins with some instant flashes of the female lead, Jian. In these flashes, we see a boy with lemon-colored hair, who is the main lead of this story. Present-day Jian returns to China with her friend Charju after spending quite some time abroad. On the other hand, we see the story's male lead, Li Jin, who has just been released from prison. How did our lemon-haired boy end up in jail? We'll find out as the story progresses. As soon as he gets out, the first thing he does is meet a friend he made in prison. After learning about a company named LNP, he goes to meet the CEO of that company, and we find out that they were best friends in college. Jian goes to meet her friend who was drunk and passed out. Here too they discuss LNP, Li Jin, and the village. Afterward, they sit down to have a drink. Meanwhile, Li Jin, who is now the CEO of LNP, comes to meet Coalition. Coalition calls him over and tries to buy his silence by offering money. He tells him only one thing: traitors must pay the price. After saying this, he leaves the office and decides that he will take proper revenge on Li Jin. Meanwhile, a member of the running brand plays a song, which reminds Jian of something. A little later, she leaves Ren's house. Li Jin sees her leaving, and then goes inside to meet Ren, as he had come to collect money. Ren tells him not to disturb Jian's life, and also mentions that Zuin and Shahuzu might be back to get married this time. Even after hearing this, Li Jin shows no reaction. Ren tells him she doesn't have any cash at the moment, but will arrange for the money to be transferred the next day. The next day, Jian and Shazu visit an art gallery where Jian had memories with Li Jin. As they leave, Jian receives a call from Ren, who tells her to give money to someone, with the condition that Shahuzu must go along to hand over the money. Ren sends them the address of a cafe, where she also invites Li Jin, because she doesn't want Jian's life to be disturbed further because of him. Li Jin sees them together, and without meeting them, he starts to leave, but Jian senses that he is there. She runs after him, but he disappears from her sight. As Li Jin demands money, Jian tells him to reveal the truth about Li Jin. He takes the packet of money and runs away. Jian and Shazu chase him, and at one point, Jian finally catches up to him and asks him to tell her the truth. At that moment, she hears Lesion's voice telling him to let her go. When Jian turns around, Li Jin is standing there. He leaves them alone, and both walk away. Jian asks Li Jin what he plans to do next. He tells her it's none of her business, and asks if she and Shahuzu are getting married, saying they look good together. Jian questions how he could even think like that. He replies that she should stop feeling bad for him, and that whatever happened wasn't her fault. He also reminds her that he made it clear 3 years ago that it doesn't matter to him who she is with. Hearing this, Jian feels sad, and Li Jin leaves, saying he did this so she could move on from the guilt and live her life. Meanwhile, Shahuzu steals a purse from Li Jin's friend, which contains a note. He keeps the note and says to Jian that she still hasn't forgotten Li Jin, and that he still has a place in her heart, something he can never compete with. Jian responds that they are different, and in fact, Shahuzu is much better than Li Jin. Shahuzu then asks if she still hates Li Jin, but Jian leaves without answering. Jian starts searching for a new apartment, but no one is willing to rent to them as they are being perceived as troublemakers. After searching for a long time, they finally find an apartment. Shahuzu goes out to clean the room. Meanwhile, Ren returns Jian's purse, which Li Jin had sent, but since the purse didn't have anything important in it, Jian isn't too worried. Upon being asked by Ren, Jian tells her that it was just an old thing, and it's probably for the best that it's gone. On the other hand, everywhere Li Jin goes, memories of Jian flood his mind. Then in parallel, we see both of them visiting the places they used to go together. They even visit their old university and reminisce about their shared memories. Li Jin goes to his hideout and uses the key found in Jian's purse, which turns out to be the key to that place. After unlocking the gate, he examines the hideout. Soon after, Jian also arrives at the same location and notices the key, triggering a flashback to 7 years ago. The flashback takes us to the first day of college in the Applied Technology class. Books were being distributed to the students of Class 1, but Jian arrived quite late. The seniors were calling Li Jin's name, but he hadn't shown up yet. No one had seen him. Suddenly, a boy with lemon-colored hair enters the room, none other than Li Jin. Without greeting anyone, he just gives a quick glance and goes straight to collect his books, which makes everyone think he's quite arrogant. Jean's friend decides to become the class captain. Later, they head to their dormitory, where they discover that Ren is their roommate. After settling in, they go to the canteen to grab some good food. Luckily, they find an empty table to sit at. Jean goes to get soup, but in order to keep their food from getting cold, she moves their plates to another table. A while later, Legion comes and sits at the table, leaving to get some juice. Meanwhile, Jean receives a call and leaves. When Legion returns, he finds Jean eating his food. He smiles and sits down in front of her, staring at her. Jean tells him that her friend is sitting there and that he should find another spot, but he keeps staring at her. Jean then says, "Fine, if you really want to sit here, you can sit after I finish my meal." Legion asks, "How's the food?" Jean replies, "It's not that bad." Just then, Ren arrives and asks Jean whose food she's eating. Jean, confused, responds, "Mine, of course." Ren explains that Jean's food was placed on another table. Realizing the mix-up, Jean apologizes, explaining that they both had the same dishes, which caused her confusion. She then offers Legion his food and says he can eat it and that it's her treat if he wants something else. Legion continues to stare at her arrogantly, frustrating Jean, who angrily leaves for her dorm. Back in the dorm, Ren tries to talk to Legion, but he doesn't respond. Ren keeps talking, trying to befriend him, but suddenly he receives an important call. Before leaving, Ren gives Legion the key to his friend's room, asking him to take care of it and promising to come by in the evening. As Legion heads toward his dorm, Jean approaches him and hands him an envelope of money as compensation for eating his food. Legion gives her the key to his friend's room and tells her it's room 312 South Gate. Curious, Jean takes the key to her room and starts investigating. They soon discover that it's actually the key to a hotel room. Jean's friends tease her, saying that on the very first day of college, the most handsome guy has already asked her on a date. Later that evening, Jean returns the room key to Legion through his roommate, along with a note that says, "Please have some shame." The next day, Jean and Ren arrive late to class. The teacher asks Legion to introduce himself, and everyone finds out that he's not only the college entrance exam topper, but also the state topper. Everyone is impressed except for Jean, who keeps glaring at him. As class monitor, Jean gives a speech, but instead of paying attention, Legion is busy with his laptop. He notices Jean looking at him a few times, and whenever their eyes meet, she quickly looks away. After some time, she becomes distracted, and Legion points out that the teacher had asked her to give an introduction. Embarrassed, Jean gives her introduction without thinking, which makes the entire class laugh at her. From that moment, Jean begins to see Legion as the ultimate bad boy. The next morning during self-study, two students are missing from the class, Ren and the lemon-haired boy, Legion. Jean starts to panic because the student union is coming to check the attendance, and if anyone is absent, the class will lose points. She tries to contact both of them, but despite multiple messages, Legion doesn't respond. After a long time, Legion finally replies with, "It's none of your business." Jean warns him that if he doesn't show up, the class will lose points, but Legion simply responds, "It's none of my business." When the student union arrives, the class loses points, and Ren gets a warning that if anyone is absent the next day, the class will lose double the points. Jean is given the responsibility to convince Legion to attend class. She starts following him everywhere, eventually reaching his secret hideout where Legion spots her. Jean tries to persuade him to attend morning subsidy classes, explaining that the department is keeping an eye on freshman attendance. Legion hands her a game controller and challenges her to a game, saying that if she wins, he'll attend the morning classes, but if she loses, he won't. Jean loses the game because the rules were developed by Legion himself. Since Jean lost, Legion warns her never to come to his hideout again, or else there would be consequences. Frustrated, Jean starts studying the game's programming. She eventually finds the game code in a textbook and begins learning it. During their next C programming class, Legion arrives late again, and Jean, who didn't want to sit near him, ends up sitting next to him anyway. They continue their subtle foot fighting during class. The teacher asks the class what C programming is, and since Jean had prepared excellent notes on it, the teacher directs the question to her. Jian gives a perfect answer, which earns her the title of the parrot, and the teacher, impressed by her response, makes her the class representative, even though she didn't want the responsibility. Jian's mother advises her to accept the role, and the next day the teacher officially appoints her as the class representative. Jian is now worried that Lijun will definitely create problems for her, and is asked to help a classmate with a programming problem. Leshan refuses to join the club, but solves the programming problem for Zone without her realizing it. The next day, the club members discuss whether Leshan is truly a programming genius or not, as he hadn't submitted his homework yet. Zone goes to his hideout to ask for it, but Leshan says he hasn't done it and won't do it. Zone accuses him of being afraid of failure, which prompts him to quickly write a 10-line code in 100 lines, which Zone takes back to class, thinking it proves Leshan is dumb. However, when they open the flash drive, they find a virus instead of the homework. The virus spreads to their systems, and even the seniors can't remove it. When Zone reveals that Lishan created the virus, no one believes a freshman could do that. Even the C language teacher gets involved, but struggles to solve the virus issue. Leshan eventually leaves Zone to figure it out on her own, saying she needs to work harder. After spending all night trying to decode the virus, Zone is stuck. Meanwhile, Leshan easily decodes the virus the next morning, fixing the system. Zone, now convinced that Leshan is indeed a genius, takes a lot of food to his hideout to thank him. She asks him to teach her classmates some programming in the morning classes, but Leshan refuses, saying his scholarship isn't for teaching. Zone keeps pushing, trying to convince him that, as a group, they should help each other. Leshan sarcastically responds, "Just because I ate your food doesn't mean I have to give you my heart." He grabs his laptop to code again, but Zone stops him. Leshan moves closer to Zone and asks if she still doesn't want to leave, hinting that he's not in the mood for being polite. Zone hurriedly runs away, but Leshan locks the gate behind her. She realizes she left her phone inside, and when she asks for it, Leshan answers a call on her phone saying she's busy and can't talk right now. Zone waits outside for the gate to open, and when it does the next morning, she's found asleep outside. Leshan is surprised to see her still there. Later, during morning classes, Zone sees Leshan wearing the jacket she left on him. Her friends notice and tease her, but Zone quickly removes it. The teacher enters the class and informs everyone about a new programming practice space they can use instead of attending morning classes, and they'll even earn credit points for it. Points as well. All the students start discussing joining the practice space because of the teacher's support and the credits they can earn. This makes Zune really angry because now everyone will leave her club to join the practice space. In her frustration, she hangs Leshan's jacket in her room and starts angrily scolding it, pretending it's him. Zune is also stressed because she can't find anyone to perform with her at the welcome party who can play musical instruments. Eventually, she decides that she and Ross will perform a crosstalk act. They begin rehearsing for it, when Leshan suddenly enters with applause, insulting their silly efforts. He announces that he's moving his practice space to their space. As he walks away, Zune calls after him, saying she knows their level is below his, but asks if he would like to compete with them. Leshan agrees, giving her a challenge. She must make the audience laugh during her performance at the welcome party. Zune accepts the challenge and works hard on her script. The welcome party begins, but Leshan hasn't arrived yet. After some time, he shows up. A girl performs and then confesses her feelings to him on stage, but Leshan says nothing and just looks at Zune. Then it's Zune's turn to perform. She tells a story about a stubborn and naughty dog who turns out to be Leshan. She humorously describes how she taught the dog a lesson, making everyone laugh, even Leshan himself. As Zune finishes her performance and is walking off the stage, Leshan stands in front of her. He comes close to her, and everyone starts watching. He says, "You've been keeping an eye on me, but you don't need to do it secretly anymore. We can openly be together now." Hearing this, all the students start throwing paper rockets at them, and the next day, the video goes viral. Comments flood in, with people loving their pair, but Zune is overwhelmed by it all. Zune decides to wear a hoodie and head to the shower, hoping no one will recognize her. But even there, the girls are gossiping about her and Leshan. 2 girls even recognize her, so she runs back to her room and pretends to be asleep. Fed up, Zune posts a statement on her social media, clarifying that she's still single and not involved with Leshan. She explains that everything that happened at the party was just part of the performance, After posting this, she heads to college the next day, only to have the guy who confessed to her ask her to explain everything truthfully. Zun reassures him that nothing is going on between her and Leshan. The guy doesn't believe her and calls her a liar. Zun then goes to the broadcasting department and makes an announcement, stating once again that she has no relationship with Leshan. She says that he only came as a guest performer and no one should misunderstand their relationship. Most people start believing her statement until Leshan makes a sudden entrance with his lemon-colored hair dyed black. This causes everyone to laugh at Zun, as she had mentioned the dog with lemon-colored hair in her talk show. She had jokingly said that the dog should dye its hair black, and now Leshan has actually done it. Students start teasing her, saying Leshan did it just for her. After class, Zun confronts Leshan, asking why he commented under her post and why he didn't help clarify that they weren't dating. Leshan responds, "Since you're not my girlfriend, why should I help you?" Zun is frustrated and asks if he's enjoying all the attention they're getting. Leshan admits he is, but then asks, "Did you ask me before making me a guest performer? You went around announcing it to everyone without even asking me." As Leshan starts walking away, Zun runs after him, asking why he dyed his hair. She says his actions are making people misunderstand their relationship even more and he should clarify things on his side too. Leshan smirks and says, "No matter how much you explain, people will only misunderstand us more. Thanks to you, now I'm involved too." Just then, Teacher Lin arrives, and it's revealed that he was the one who suggested Leshan dye his hair black. After the teacher leaves, Leshan warns Zun one last time, "I was never your guest performer," before walking away. Later, Leshan goes to a pub where a rent band is performing. He agrees to invest in the band. Afterward, as he steps outside, he resumes his coding work. Ren approaches him saying, "With all the money you make from coding, you should just quit college. After all, you don't attend classes or do homework." Leshan replies, "That's why I've established my own practice base. You can join too. You won't need to attend morning or evening classes and you'll earn credit points in return. We'll receive credit points as well, and the homework and classes are super easy. I don't want to waste my time on that. So, did you dye your hair to impress me or was it for them?" Leshan smiles as he talks about his base, explaining that they will be working on projects outside of school, essentially starting a business. Any funds they raise will be shared with the college, and in return, they and their team will earn a lot of points. Hearing about the points, Shumiya also joins his base. When Zun arrives at her club, she finds that all the members are busy learning from Leshan. Frustrated, she tells Leshan to move his base elsewhere, since it's disturbing her programming group. But Leshan calmly informs her that this space has been officially allocated to his base, and if she wishes, she can join them, or else she's free to continue her own work. Zun is upset and goes to meet Gan, who is playing basketball to release his frustration. Zun motivates Gan, promising that she'll stand by their group till the end. She heads back to her club, only to see a large crowd of students lining up to join the base. Zun and Gan sit quietly in a corner, working, while girls continue placing orders for things from Leshan's base. Annoyed, Zun confronts Leshan, telling him that his base is disturbing their group's work. Leshan replies, "Madam, do I need to remind you again? You have no group here, only my practice base." Angered, Zun storms off. The next day, another clash occurs between Gaon and Leshan over a chair, as the base has grown even larger. Gan, who's usually calm, tells Leshan that he's overdoing it. Leshan responds, "I was only 5 ranks below you in the college entrance exams, so don't think too highly of yourself." Gaon retorts, "Do you think reading a programming book is going to teach you everything? It'd be better if you gave up." Leshan challenges Gaon, "If you're really that smart, join my base and I'll teach you everything." Angry, Zun steps in and challenges Leshan, declaring that she and Gaon will score higher than Leshan in the upcoming exams, especially in the language subject. If Zun and Gaon score higher, Leshan must join their club with his members. But if they fail, they'll disband their club, and the space will be handed over to Leshan's base. Leshan agrees, teasing, "So you want to play house again? Fine by me." Leshan switches to a tougher subject for the competition, and the students around them, including Shumiya, side with Leshan. Confident that she'll easily defeat Leshan in the programming course, Zun throws herself into practice. Seeing her determination, even Leshan starts to feel slightly intimidated. Zun spends long nights coding in the library, But since the dormitory doesn't have the Wi-Fi, she heads to Leshan's rooftop classroom base. When Zune arrives, the gate is locked, but Leshan soon shows up to unlock it. He asks her how she got there without permission, to which Zune replies, "It's an emergency. I need to check some codes. Besides, this place isn't officially yours, so I can use it too." Leshan says nothing and both sit down to work. Zune soon gets stuck on a short code, and Leshan helps her, remarking, "You bookish kids rely too much on textbooks. That's why you get stuck on small logic problems." Instead of getting angry, Zune listens calmly. Leshan gives her the key to the rooftop, allowing her to come any time, which makes Zune smile. As their exam day approaches, they receive their first question, a tough programming challenge. Leshan codes the solution in a very short manner, while Zune writes a much longer program. For a moment, Zune is worried, but after some time, the results come in. Both Zune and Leshan score a perfect 100 points. The teachers ask all the students to review each other's codes. When Leshan presents his code, it's so extensive that Zune struggles to understand it. Leshan teases her, saying, "Don't stress yourself out too much, or you'll end up in depression." But Zune keeps trying to understand the code, and after several attempts, she manages to improve her own code, creating something even better than Leshan's. Leshan admits defeat, realizing that Zune has outdone him. It's revealed that Gaon had previously sent his roommate to ask Leshan about a coding issue, which gave Gaon the idea for decoding a virus in their program. Indirectly, this helped them succeed, and Leshan acknowledges Zune's talent. Leshan had shared the way to decode the virus, knowing that no one else could figure it out. In the end, both Zune and Gaon accept their defeat, and Gaon decides to join Leshan's base. Zune, however, still wanted to give the PE course a chance. When their PE exam starts, Leshan arrives last with a certificate stating he couldn't participate due to a spinal injury. This means he gets to skip the exam. Zune is slightly suspicious of his injury and asks him about it later. Leshan laughs and informs her that they've disbanded their club and now the space belongs to his base. He teases, "Finally, you've understood your limitations." Zune counters, "It's not like that. We're just doing this to avoid any further conflicts between us." Leshan laughs at her response. Later, Gaon talks to Zune about joining the base. He agrees, realizing that Gaon's coding was quite unique. Their base is officially set up, and they receive new gadgets for it. On the weekend, Zune goes shopping and runs into Ren. She invites Ren to join her, but Ren says she's waiting for someone. Just then, Leshan arrives, the person Ren had been waiting for. At the market, Zune runs into Shomiya, who seems surprised to see Leshan and Ren together. Leshan takes Ren to his base and lists her as a member of Shomiya's team. Shomiya, confused, asks Leshan if Ren will practice there every day. Leshan replies, "No, I just want her to earn some points." Shomiya, clearly annoyed, says that if that's the case, she won't have Ren on her team. Leshan smirks and says, "Achieve something first, then come talk to me." This infuriates Shomiya, and she later vents her anger on Ren in the dormitory, leading to a fight between them. Shomiya confides in Zune, saying that there's definitely something going on between Ren and Leshan since Leshan only listens to Ren and they're always together. She even points out how Ren always waits to meet Leshan and how they were seen together at the market. Zune also saw them together, making Shomiya suspect they might be dating. The next day, Ren leaves the dormitory. Zune insists that Ren stay, thinking she's leaving because of Shomiya's harsh words. Ren reveals that she's actually leaving college to focus on her band. She has already rented an apartment. Zune jokes, warning her to stay away from Leshan now that they might end up living together. Ren clarifies, "There's nothing like that. I don't like Leshan in that way. It's Shomiya who has a thing for him, which is why she sticks around him all the time." But soon she'll realize that getting close to someone like Leshan isn't easy. With that, Ren leaves. Shomiya is struggling with a project, and Zune helps her out. However, Leshan rejects the project, saying it was of too low a standard. Furious, Zune confronts him for an explanation. Leshan tells her that her work didn't meet their base's standards. Angrily, Zune goes to Mr. Lane to show him the project. The teacher explains that her coding was too simple. He asks if she enjoys programming and why she took this course. Zune admits that her mom chose it for her. The teacher advises her to approach Leshan and join his base if she truly wants to learn and grow, as she could gain a lot from it. As she steps outside, Zune finds Leshan waiting for her. He invites her to join his base. Zun was excited about being invited to Leshan's base because he liked her coding skills. She was so eager that she even dreamt about it. The next day, she arrived at the base early at 7 a.m. But by 9:30 a.m., only a few people showed up, including Leshan, who sat down to work without acknowledging her. She was informed that people could come and go as they pleased, with no fixed schedule. Soon after, everyone arrived and started working, but Zun didn't have any task assigned to her. A classmate told her that if Leshan hadn't given her a task, she could do whatever she liked, even play games, as the internet connection was great. Zun sarcastically replied, "Did I come here at 7 a.m. just to play games?" A senior then handed her some homework to do, which frustrated Zun even more. The senior girl sat beside Leshan, and Zun quickly finished the work, then approached Leshan, saying, "I didn't come here to do someone's homework." Leshan teased her, saying she should be proud to have done a favor for a senior. Zun retorted, reminding him that he invited her, not the other way around. Leshan, amused, made a loud announcement to everyone, introducing Zun as the princess he had personally invited, and suggested everyone applaud her. He also promised to treat everyone to a meal to welcome her. Embarrassed, Zun thanked him but said it wasn't necessary. Later, Leshan took everyone to a pub. While they were there, a band member of Arian's group got into a fight with some guys who were bothering Zun. This led to a brawl between their bands. After the chaos, everyone returned to their dorms. Zun had been wanting to tell Leshan something, and he asked her to speak up. She told him she wouldn't be doing his girlfriend's homework anymore, and that he should do it himself. If he asked again, she would leave the base. As Zun tried to walk away, Leshan grabbed her hand, stopping her, and said, "You just joined, how can you leave so soon?" Zun pulled her hand away, warning him, "Let go of my hand or your girlfriend will see and she won't like it." Leshan, amused, asked, "Who said she's my girlfriend?" He then handed Zun a flash drive. Back in her dorm, Zun checked the drive and saw that Leshan had modified her entire program, fixing her mistakes and adding suggestions. She received a message from Leshan asking her to come back at 7 a.m. the next day. The next morning, Zun arrived at the base to find Leshan sleeping. She tried to cover him with a jacket, but he woke up and asked, "What were you trying to do, princess?" He began searching for his lighter, and Zun asked him why he always carried it. Leshan responded, "Why are you so interested in my life?" Zun fell silent. Leshan then gave her a special project, explaining that it was profitable. Zun asked, "Will I get paid for it?" Leshan told her that whatever money they made would be shared with the school, adding that he didn't expect her to be in it for the money. Zun clarified that she wanted to earn money for herself, to which Leshan responded sternly, moving closer to her and saying, "What did you just say? Say it again." Feeling nervous, Zun said nothing, as Leshan walked her to some books. He seemed to be getting more attracted to her, and asked, "Princess, I don't know what's happening to me." Nervously, Zun reassured him that nothing was wrong. At that moment, they heard other members arriving, and Zun suggested they leave. Leshan, unfazed, said he didn't care, but Zun quickly returned to her seat before anyone saw them together. Later, Leshan called Zun to sit with him in front of everyone, announcing that she would be working with him on an important project called the Blue Crown Project, along with Gaon. Everyone was shocked to hear that Zun had been given such a big opportunity right after joining. Shomaya, in particular, was not pleased. Leshan called for a meeting and told them to rewrite the program for the project, but they didn't have enough time, so Leshan agreed to let them modify it instead. Despite this, Zun wasn't comfortable being around Leshan, so she sat in her old seat. Leshan came over to Zun's seat and started coding on her laptop while standing behind her, almost hugging her from behind. This caught everyone's attention, and even Shomiya became more upset. Zun, uncomfortable, pushed him back and said, "You couldn't have just asked me to come over?" Leshan smiled, saying that he'd been calling her, but she didn't hear him. As the clock struck 10 p.m., Zun started preparing to leave for her dorm, but Leshan stopped her, saying, "Did I tell you to leave? You can't go without finishing your work, and your dorm is under maintenance anyway. You'll have to stay here and work." Zun argued, but Gaon told her to let it go. The next morning, Zun was found sleeping at the table. Seeing this, some of the other girls, especially the senior girl who usually sat with Leshan, were jealous. One morning, the senior girl brought breakfast for Leshan, but in her attempt to care for him, she accidentally spilled coffee all over his laptop. The senior girl who accidentally spilled coffee on Leshan's laptop kept apologizing, which irritated him. For the first time, he shouted at her to be quiet, causing her to leave. His outburst also woke up Zune, who had been sleeping nearby. Then Leshan turned his frustration towards another person who had made an error in their course type. He scolded them harshly, but Zune stepped in, saying that he didn't need to be so tough and could have explained it calmly. Leshan snapped back. "Do you think this base is some kind of programming club where you come to play house? If you can't handle the pressure, leave. I can't stand mistakes, and I certainly don't tolerate people who cry over them." The person he scolded ran off in tears, and Zune went after them to console them. The person asked Zune, "Would you leave the base for me?" Confused, Zune asked what they meant. The person explained that Zune had not faced any challenges since joining the base. Unlike them, Leshan had never scolded Zune. Instead, he had included her in an important project. The person bitterly suggested that Zune leave the base since she had already gotten close to Leshan. Zune asked, "What are you even talking about?" The person replied, "Now I understand why you helped me. You got what you wanted. You wanted to get close to Leshan." Shocked, Zune responded, "What nonsense are you talking about? I've helped you before." But the person continued, "You got a share of the profit, didn't you? Why are you the princess that Leshan specially invited while we, who joined actively, are nothing?" Zune, trying to reason with them, said, "If you like Leshan, why don't you just tell him? Why are you behaving this way with me?" The person asked if Leshan liked Zune, saying that Gaon had told them so. Hearing this, Zune became sad because Gaon hadn't told her that he liked her. Angry, Zune started to leave, but the person calmed down, and they both shared an emotional moment. They reconciled and decided not to leave the base. Zune also resolved that if Leshan ever scolded her again, she would give him a fitting reply. Later, Gaon and Zune presented their website design to Leshan, as they were preparing for a bidding event the next day. Leshan pointed out several issues with the design, but Gaon had answers for everything. Despite this, Leshan decided to take their design to the bidding, though he still had some doubts. The next day, both Gaon and Zune were very nervous as they headed to the bidding. Zune was so anxious that she even threw up. They knew Leshan would be attending on behalf of their university. When they arrived at the venue, filled with representatives from big companies, their nerves worsened. To make matters worse, there was an issue with the navigation bar on their design, which they couldn't fix. They tried calling Leshan for help but couldn't reach him. Finally, it was time for them to present, and Gaon nervously went up to talk about their design. During the presentation, the company representatives noticed the issue with the navigation bar and started asking many questions. Gaon, flustered, tried to explain that everything had worked fine before, but the issue had arisen when they arrived. The representatives began lecturing him, and just then, Leshan made a dramatic entrance. He apologized for the situation and presented a new version of the design. He explained that what they had just seen was only the first draft, intended to demonstrate how even a small mistake in design could be detrimental to a company's website. He then showed them the final design, which was completely different and much more polished. The audience loved it, and Gaon stood silently beside him, feeling humiliated. After the bidding, Gaon stormed out in anger, feeling like his efforts had been mocked. He confronted Leshan, saying that if Leshan had planned to present his own design, he should have told them earlier instead of embarrassing them in front of everyone. Gaon felt like their hard work had been wasted. Leshan calmly explained that he had sent them to the bidding to show them the difference between their work and a professional presentation. He added, "If I hadn't modified your website, we wouldn't have even been shortlisted for the bidding. We're a team, and as the leader, you need to follow me to achieve success." But Gaon, still furious, walked away to blow off steam by playing basketball. Zune later found Gaon and tried to console him. She told him that Leshan hadn't done anything wrong and that if he hadn't intervened, they would have faced even more humiliation. She advised Gaon not to take Leshan's actions too seriously. The next day, Leshan announced to everyone that they had won the bidding, which brought in a significant profit. Everyone would receive money, but they would also need to work harder. Leshan was asked to explain how they won the bidding, but he ignored it. telling everyone to get back to work. Angry, Gan stormed off, and Zun went after him, trying to calm him down. She suggested that he should speak more kindly to others, because his words often hurt people. Leshan, in response, shared a story with her, explaining that people only learn when they get hurt. Zun urged him to make peace with Gaian, so he wouldn't leave the base. Leshan replied that Gaian knew the difference between right and wrong and would eventually understand. Later, Leshan called Zun and asked if she wanted to create something that was truly her own. They exchanged smiles, and the scene ended there. From the next day on, everything between them returned to normal, and everyone started working hard on the Blue Crown project. Zun had not returned to her dormitory since the day before, so she asked Leshan if she could go back. However, Leshan told her she only had 30 minutes to return and be back at work. Zun protested, saying that the trip itself would take 20 minutes, leaving no time to freshen up. Leshan decided to drop her off on his bicycle. The next day, a project director arrived for their Blue Crown project. Her name was Miss Lin, and she came from the company that had a cooperation agreement with the college. Zun and Gaeon were suspicious of her, as they had seen someone from her company at the bidding event. They believed she had come to steal their project. They approached Leshan with their concerns. Later, Miss Lin arrived with some of her company's employees, and Leshan introduced them to the team, informing everyone that they would now be working on the project under Miss Lin's supervision. Miss Lin, however, seemed particularly interested in Zun, as she had heard a lot about her. Zui, a senior from the team, tried to engage with her, but Miss Lin kept bombarding him with questions. A teacher explained that the college had already agreed to the cooperation, so the team had no choice but to collaborate. Zun protested, saying, "Why should we cooperate? We did all the work, wrote all the coding, and now we're supposed to hand over everything without being asked if we're okay with this cooperation?" Frustrated, she asked Leshan to speak up, but he didn't react much. Zun complained, "Can't you see they've come here just to steal our project? We should do something." Leshan casually replied, "And what can we do?" Zun, determined, said, "Our team can handle this website project ourselves." Leshan, amused, asked, "You're really confident today, aren't you?" Zun asked if he wasn't angry. Leshan calmly responded, "What's the point of getting angry?" Zun insisted that they had put in all the hard work and deserved credit, but Leshan brushed it off, saying, "Princess, you haven't seen anything yet. You've always been protected. There are far worse people in this world who will always try to bring you down. If I spent my life worrying about them, I'd never get anything done." Zun, still upset, asked, "Don't you care about our efforts, at least for the sake of our teammates?" Leshan coldly replied, "You've been living in a bubble, thinking everything revolves around you. This company has a cooperation agreement with our college, and that's why they're here. Fighting them is useless. We should just focus on our work." He then told Zun they should get back to work and left. As he walked away, Zun, frustrated, said, "This is your base, and this is your project, so you can give it away if you want, but I'm leaving the base." She then walked away, leaving the base behind. Filled with anger, left the base, and Leshan said nothing to stop her. Later, Zun went to meet Rain, and they discussed Leshan and the situation. Zun says that, as far as she knows Leshan, he must have already thought everything through before making this decision. The next day, she starts acting more authoritarian, summoning all the base members quickly, assigning them tasks, and announcing that she will be the project leader, with a senior member as the team leader. She insists that everyone must work professionally, arrive on time, and can only leave once their tasks are complete. No one objects, so they all begin working. Meanwhile, Xiaobi asks about one of their designers, Shomiya, who lies and says she's in class. However, Xiaobi catches the lie and asks Shomiya to check the class schedule on the college website. Nervously, Shomiya takes out her laptop and logs in, but before she can access the site, Leshan discreetly adds that class to the schedule, surprising everyone, including Zun, who blushes when she hears how Leshan is treating her differently from others. Zun also learns that all positions have been taken away from Leshan's team, and it upsets her. The team still believes that Leshan has some plan in mind to handle the situation. Senior Ron asks Zun for a copy of the bidding project presentation, which she understands Xiaobi only wants to steal. Zun then realizes that Xiaobi's team didn't even have an idea on the day of the bidding, they just came to steal the winning project. Zun asks if Lashawn knows about this. When Ron says no, Zun asserts, "Why should we hand over our hard work? This is Leshawn's project." Ra'an replies, "Who is Leshawn? Nobody knows him, while Xiaobi is famous and backed by a big company. She'll claim this project is hers and take all the credit. Forget your pointless defiance and forget about Lashawn." Zun refuses, saying that she'll always stand by Lashawn. She goes to Leshawn, who had already been planning things out for her. She asks him if he trusted she would come back, and Lashawn says, "You didn't have the guts to quit." Zun responds that she knows he must have a plan and asks him to share how they can solve this problem. Lashawn advises her to finish the project as quickly as possible, saying that once it's done, the problem will solve itself. After a lengthy lecture, both of them return to work. Eventually, with everyone's hard work, the project is completed. However, Xiaobi continues to follow Zun around, constantly requesting more changes, and Lashawn helps her through it. Finally, the project is presented to the company, but Lashawn and his team are seated far from the executives, while Xiaobi meets with the company president, who praises the website design. Meanwhile, Lashawn and Gao continue coding. Their project is eventually completed, but nobody acknowledges it. Finally, Lashawn treats everyone to celebrate. Senior Ra'an breaks down, explaining that Xiaobi had made him and his senior work for free for a year, and if they refused, she threatened they wouldn't graduate. This forced them to work with her. Despite working on many projects, Xiaobi took all the credit and kept the money earned, leaving them frustrated. As everyone drinks to forget their troubles, Zun drinks a bit too much and becomes too drunk to walk. Lashawn has to carry her in a shopping cart. In her intoxicated state, Zun clings to Rain and Lashawn, taking pictures with Rain. Eventually, Rain and Lashawn take her to Rain's studio, where they put her to sleep. Afterward, they head to their rooms for the night. In the middle of the night, Zun wakes up suddenly and asks for water. When she talks to Rain, she inquires about Leshan. Rain tells her that Leshan sometimes stays at the studio in a room that belongs to him. She also reveals that Leshan's investor supports the studio and even pays for his apartment. Rain shows Zun the washroom and then tells her to go back to sleep. However, Zun feels nauseous and runs to the washroom to throw up. On her way back, she mistakenly enters Leshan's room and falls asleep there. When Lashawn finishes his shower and steps out, he finds her in his room. Seeing Zun lying there, Lashawn hides behind a curtain and quickly puts on his shirt. He then tells her to get up, but Zun, still half asleep, pulls him towards her, mistaking him for a pillow and hugging him. Just then, she feels nauseous again, and Lashawn quickly frees himself, sending her to the washroom. Afterward, he sits back down and resumes coding on his laptop. When Zun comes out, Lashawn tells her to leave, but she rushes back and sits next to him, offering to help. Lashawn refuses and pushes her away, but Zun, suspicious, sneaks back to see what he's doing. She looks at his laptop and realizes he's still working on the Blue Crown project, but something is different. She yells, asking what he's doing and why he's hiding this from everyone. Lashawn tries to calm her down, but Zun keeps pressing him for answers. Finally, Lashawn hands her the laptop and explains everything. Zun understands the codes and realizes there is no need for an explanation. After looking through all the codes, she asks what his plan is. Lashawn reveals that the Blue Crown website will soon become outdated, and after some time, it won't generate any revenue. The company is simply following trends, building websites without considering the long term. Zun asks why he didn't tell them this sooner. Lashawn replies, "If I had told them, how would we have made money? Making money isn't easy, especially since this is a flashback to around 2014 or 2015, when mobile apps weren't as prevalent. I knew the future trend would be mobile, so I focused on developing an app which will be more profitable than a website." Zun, shocked, asks why he lied to everyone. Lashawn responds, "You're the one who said I always have a plan. I had to do this. There are very few good projects like this, and Xiaobi wanted me to give it to her, which I would never do." Zun feels like their hard work was wasted and says that if he had told them earlier, they could have worked together on the app. Lashawn assures her that no time was wasted, as they all learned valuable skills while building the website and gained experience. He also says, "When Xiaobi finds out I outsmarted her, she won't let me off so easily, which is why I didn't involve any of you." Zun accuses Lashawn of not caring about them at all. He replies, "I don't really care about you, but you always interfere with my work, doing things your own way, which affects me." As Zun listens, she falls asleep, and just before drifting off, she asks, "How have I affected you?" Leshan warns her, "This is the last time I'm telling you, don't get mad at me again." She falls asleep, resting her head on his shoulder. Zun wakes up and asks about Leshan, not knowing where he went. She gets ready and heads to the base, where Leshan confronts her about the conversation from last night regarding the app. He takes her outside to talk, and Zun repeats that if he had told them earlier, they wouldn't have wasted time on the website and could have focused on the app. Leshan counters, saying, "If I had told you the website would soon be outdated, would you have worked hard on it? If you hadn't worked on it, you wouldn't have learned anything. Right now, our website is the best, and how profitable it will be depends on many factors." Zun insists that if he had been upfront, they could have created the best app together. Leshan replies, "Did you take Senior Ron's words seriously? That we can do everything ourselves and make money for others? It's not that simple." Before he can finish, Zun interrupts, accusing him of always talking about money just like Xiaobi and being obsessed with it. Leshan approaches her closely. Leshan, getting close to Zun, asks her to repeat what she just said. She goes silent, and Leshan starts teasing her, calling her princess, and reminding her that the cost of living has skyrocketed. He sarcastically asks if she even knows how much it costs to keep Kiran's band running for a month, or why the computers at their base run faster and smoother than the others at the college. He explains that it's because the college spends more on their base, and he mocks her, saying, "Do you think they do that just because of your pretty face?" Zun, feeling a bit defensive, takes a step back. Leshan gets closer again, recounting some inspirational words she'd said earlier, which make Zun push him away. He leaves after that, but soon calls Zun and Gao to meet him at the top of a hill. Both Zun and Gao struggle with the climb and are exhausted when they reach the top. Leshan, however, seems perfectly fine and reveals that he took the cable car up while they climbed for 2.5 hours. Once they all meet, Leshan shares his true plan for the app. He explains that both he and Gao have been working on the app together, and now he's inviting Zun to join their team. Leshan thoroughly explains the plan and the details of the app. The three of them celebrate this collaboration, marking the occasion by taking a selfie together. Zun takes a special photo with Leshan, realizing that she has started to like him. She prints out the photo and keeps it in her purse, feeling happy about the connection. The next day, Zun is at a show where she sees her senior, Shumia, with her boyfriend. Zun asks Shumia how long they've been together, but Shumia admits that she's not sure if they're really dating or not. Curious, she then asks Zun how it feels to like someone. Zun explains, "If you like someone, you'll find everything about them appealing. Your heart won't have room for anyone else, and you'll always want to protect them." This makes Shumia start to reflect on her own feelings. As Zun leaves the show, she notices Xiaobi's car entering the college grounds and decides to follow her. She sees Xiaobi talking privately with someone and eavesdrops on their conversation. Xiaobi had already discovered Leshan's app idea and had even discussed it with the Blue Ground team. She had submitted papers related to the app, and now she was at the college to stir up trouble, especially since the Blue Ground team had terminated the website project. This meant Xiaobi was no longer going to make any money from it, so she was furious. Xiaobi threatens Leshan, saying that because of his trickery, other students like Han will lose their jobs. Leshan, however, calls her out for lying, pointing out that Senior Han had been working for her for free for an entire year without being paid. Xiaobi, growing more frustrated, tells Leshan that crossing her will be a mistake. She offers him a deal. "Sell me your app, and we can negotiate the price." Leshan firmly rejects her offer, demanding instead that she return all the money she made under the project's name. He also mentions that she should make things right with their college. Leshan warns Xiaobi to stop her underhanded dealings under the guise of cooperation and merge her team with his, working under him. Xiaobi, surprised by his boldness, says she thought he would apologize, but instead he's proving to be overly confident. She acknowledges his intelligence but insists that going against her is futile. As Leshan turns to leave, Xiaobi starts bringing up his family, revealing that she knows he provided false contact information at the college, wrong phone numbers, addresses, so no one could reach them. She mentions that she dug up something from his middle school, discovering that he was expelled. Xiaobi then asks if it's true. Leshan falls silent at this, and Xiaobi continues, stating that while the college currently takes pride in him, what will happen when they find out he's a fraud, expelled from high school for cheating in exams? She hints at how damaging this news would be if it got out. The college topper is a cheater. Leshan denies the cheating allegations, but Xiaobi insists it doesn't matter what the truth is. She gives him an ultimatum: apologize, give her what belongs to her, and all this will go away. As their conversation unfolds, Zun overhears everything. The scene cuts to Gao at the base, thinking about the new equipment she had purchased for upcoming projects. Zun feels bad for Gao and later goes for drinks with her. Zun tells Gao, "I might lose, but I won't let her lose ever." Gao, puzzled, asks who she's talking about, but Zun keeps it to herself. The next day, Zun joins Xiaobi's team, learning they are developing an app for Blue Crown. She starts working on it as well. Later, Leshan confronts her, urging her once again not to send the app. Zun tells him she's already working with Blue Crown on an app, and mentions that Xiaobi had requested the app from her earlier. Leshan, frustrated, storms off to call Zun, but she doesn't answer. He calls Gao, asking her to send Zun down. When Zun finally comes down, Leshan accuses her of betraying them and questions if she thinks anyone will believe her now that she's working for Xiaobi. Zun laughs, and Leshan warns her to stop working with Xiaobi. Zun replies that she wants to help Xiaobi develop the app, and even accuses Leshan of copying code. Leshan gets defensive, asking if she has patented her codes or released them publicly, claiming he's the one being copied. Zun retorts, saying, "Does it matter? You can't control what I do anymore." She also reminds him that there was no service contract between them, and that they're just ordinary classmates now. Leshan steps closer and tells her that they're not just classmates. Zun, intrigued, asks, "Then what are we? What's our relationship?" When Leshan stays silent, Zun turns to leave. Leshan tells her if she continues working with Xiaobi, she shouldn't return to the base. Zun calmly replies that she's now practicing in Senior Han's computer room anyway. She walks off, leaving Leshan frustrated. Meanwhile, Gao has been sitting quietly in Ren's studio for an hour. Ren asks him how he's been sitting without coding for so long, sensing something is off. Gao finally opens up, revealing that he's troubled. Ren, who had completed her studio work, asks Gao if he has feelings for fun, saying, "He does everything for you." Gao denies it, laughing, but Ren suspects something deeper. Then Gao asks Ren if Juyoni had visited her in the last 2 days. Ren mentions that Juyoni had come over for drinks and told her something strange. "I might lose, but I won't let her lose." Ren didn't know what Juyoni was referring to, but Gao finds it amusing. Later, Gao meets Zun and asks if Xiaobi has been bullying her. Zun brushes it off, saying that Xiaobi hasn't been too hard on her. Gao then teases Zun, asking what will happen when Xiaobi realizes she's being played for a fool. Zun denies tricking Xiaobi, claiming that she's sincerely working on the project. Gao, coming closer, reminds her of something Xiaobi had said to him. Zun then sarcastically asks, "Do you think I'm doing all this for you?" Zun responds sharply, telling Leshan not to overestimate himself and that she isn't doing any of this for him. She leaves for the Senior Han's computer room. Senior Han is nervous, as Xiaobi found out about the app's coding errors, which led to her getting scolded by Blue Crown. Xiaobi is furious and comes looking for Zun. Bursting in, Xiaobi angrily accuses Zun of thinking she's too clever and trying to frame her without her noticing. Zun pretends to be confused, but Xiaobi throws water at her, scolding her for intentionally messing up the app's coding to ensure it couldn't be completed. Because of this, Xiaobi faced severe backlash from Blue Crown. Xiaobi drags Zun to the college dean to ensure she's punished. The dean assures Xiaobi that Zun will indeed face consequences. Zun's class teacher, however, pleads on her behalf, arguing that Zun likely didn't do it on purpose and that punishing her in her first year could ruin her future. Despite this, Xiaobi remains adamant. Leshan learns about this and that Senior Han testified against Zun. Leshan confronts Han directly, asking what Xiaobi offered him in exchange. Senior Han admits that Xiaobi promised him a job and threatened to ruin his future, which is why he agreed to testify. Leshan leaves, urging Han to apologize, and hands the app's hard drive to Zun. He assures her he'll take care of the matter with Xiaobi before warning her. "You students think you're heroes, sacrificing for each other. One day you'll regret it." Zun eventually finds out that Leshan went looking for her. After searching, she finds him sitting alone and asks if he gave the app to Xiaobi. Leshan, surprised, says he guessed what she was up to when she joined Xiaobi's team. Zun clarifies that she didn't want anyone to find out about Leshan's past. Leshan, showing a soft side, playfully taps her forehead and tells her she wasted her time worrying. Zun comments on how easily he gave away his work and wonders how he'll make money now. Leshan confidently replies that he can create thousands of such apps. Zun starts to say something, but Leshan stops her. She then says, "Leshan, I'm not a princess, nor a fool. Time will tell." Leshan returns to the dormitory, where Gao is upset with him for not consulting before giving away the app. But since it involved Zun, Gao lets it go this time. Meanwhile, Zun, deep in thought, stares at her phone for a long time after Xiaobi leaves. She then calls her mom and tells her everything Xiaobi did. It is revealed that Zun comes from an influential family, with her parents having connections with powerful people. However, Xiaobi's company's CEO is nothing compared to them. When Zun's dad hears about what happened, he arranges a meeting with Xiaobi and her associates. During the meeting, Zun's dad doesn't directly scold Xiaobi, but subtly hints at her wrongdoing, particularly the incident where she threw water on Zun in front of the class. This forces Xiaobi to apologize to Zun in front of everyone. However, Zun's mom isn't as forgiving. She directly confronts Xiaobi, giving her a harsh piece of her mind, leaving Xiaobi embarrassed and flustered to the point that she spills water on herself. The scene is quite satisfying, especially because there are many people in the world who unfairly take opportunities away from others. Soon after, an investigation into Xiaobi's activities is conducted, revealing that she exploited many students, forcing them to work for free. It's also uncovered that all the money she made from school enterprise corporations never went to the students. As a result, she is fired. Although Zun isn't entirely happy, as she wanted to defeat Xiaobi on her own terms, she still feels a sense of relief. Senior Han is now free from Xiaobi's grip, and Zun can finally move forward. Lyson and his team finally get their app back. Lyson tells Zun that if she does anything in the future, she should inform him first. Zun agrees, but adds that he should also let her know before taking any action and stop trying to solve every problem on his own. Isabel Ishan playfully calls her princess, which Zun dismisses. Everyone else joins them and they begin discussing the app again. Gao is surprised and asks how they got the app back, to which Lyson responds that Zun handled everything. Gao is hurt that no one consulted him, neither before giving the app away nor before getting it back. Zun apologizes for this, but Gao grumbles a bit. Zun tries to defend Lyson, saying he's not as bad as he seems. Lyson manages to fix the app's virus, leaving only one minor bug. As Zun heads to her class, Lyson stops her and suggests they attend classes together. Zun asks what classes he plans to attend, as their peak classes and dance classes are over. Lyson says he's still figuring that out. Zun offers to choose a class for him. At that moment, Senior Han appears and apologizes to Zun. He explains that he's leaving college to take over his dad's business because he wasted too much time here without earning any money. He plans to stay in his hometown and look after his family's business. Before leaving, he tells Zun that if she ever needs help, she can reach out to him. Han leaves, and Zun is glad to see him at peace. Later, Zun is called by the owner of the place where they perform, only to be asked to clean the toilets. Furious, Zun confronts him, saying she came to perform, not to clean toilets. The owner retorts that she's only allowed to perform because she cleans the toilets. Zun is dragged outside by Lyson, who scolds her for getting into such situations. He says he just wanted to do something for her, but Zun snaps, saying she doesn't need anyone cleaning toilets for her. Lyson, hurt, admits that he likes her, but Zun shuts him down, saying she doesn't like people who change themselves for others. Blushing slightly, Lyson tries to distract himself by giving Zun more tasks, despite it being lunchtime. Zun complains that everyone else has the day off, yet she's still working. Lyson teases her, asking if she wants to be treated like everyone else. Zun refuses, but when Lyson offers to join her for lunch, she sarcastically remarks that she's too busy with all the work he's given her. Lyson leaves to grab lunch, and in the meantime, Zun's mom arrives at the college. She spots Zun from afar and finds her somewhat familiar. Zun's mom meets her class teacher and asks about Zun's close friends, but the teacher doesn't know much. They talk for a while before heading to the practice base to meet Zune. The teacher messages Zune, but her phone is on silent, so she doesn't see it. While waiting, Lyson throws a packet of chips at Zune's head. In retaliation, Zune pours hot water into Lyson's drink, causing him to splutter when he takes a sip. Lyson, wanting payback, massages her shoulders slightly before asking what kind of punishment she thinks she deserves. Zune jokes that since they're even now, she just wants to get back to work. Lyson can't help but stare at her, prompting Zune to ask if something's wrong with her face. He continues to look at her, lost in thought. Just as the moment starts to feel a bit romantic, Zune's mom and her teacher arrive, shocking both Zune and Lyson. Zune's mom looks surprised as she recognizes Lyson, and even Zune is taken aback to see her mom there. The teacher suggests Zune take her mom to the canteen. While there, her mom asks about Lyson, and Zune proudly shares that Lyson is the top student at their college and even built their practice base. Her mom, however, is skeptical, asking if Zune really knows Lyson well. A flashback begins, revealing that back in middle school, Zune's mom was the school's director. On Zune's 17th birthday, Lyson had approached her mom, admitting to cheating in an exam and taking all the blame to protect his friend. Zune's mom, however, punished both him and his friend equally. Later, Zone returns to the base and shares everything that happened in middle school. Lyson admits he cheated but doesn't believe it, so Zone starts asking him questions. Lyson talks to her a bit rudely, saying that her mom must have told her to stay away from him, and she is correct. They are both very different. After that, Lyson heads to the pub to drink and thinks about Zone, but the next day he starts kind of ignoring her. Zune doesn't like his behavior, so when she discusses it with Leshan, they have a little argument because Leshan talks to her rudely. Leshan genuinely didn't want to hurt her feelings. Zone chose volleyball classes for herself and Leshan. During practice, when Zone gets close to a national-level athlete named Zhang, Leshan starts feeling jealous. Zhang hits the ball hard, making Zone's hand turn red. Then, Zhang takes her to the medical room, where he tries to make conversation with her. Leshan arrives to keep an eye on them, which Zone also notices, so she leaves. When Zhang offers her his phone to end the chat on WeChat, Leshan comes between them with his bicycle, causing Zhang's phone to fall, making it clear to Zone. Zhang gives her a look before leaving, making her very happy. Then, from her health class, she gets a great idea for developing their app better, which she explains to everyone in the base, and they all like it. Once again in class, the teacher pairs everyone up for practice, and Jiang quickly asks Zone to practice with him, making Leshan jealous again. Leshan then steps forward and states that he wants to practice with Zhang. Zhang warns him not to even think about practicing with him, or else he'll regret it. The practice starts, and Leshan really gets beaten badly because Zhang is serving very fast. Zone goes to Leshan's side and says she will practice with him, causing Leshan to leave. After a while, Zone approaches him and says he didn't need to practice with Zhang, as he is a national-level athlete, and she isn't even close. The tension rises. Leshan holds Zone's hand and asks her if he isn't powerful. She replies that she admires him wholeheartedly. He asks if she will compliment him in the future, to which Zone responds that it's just a fact. Filled with jealousy, he invites her to work with him in the base again. That night, he is busy preparing for their date. After Zone arrives, he asks her to support him on his date, where he also invites his roommate Umang. When Umang finds out about the date, he starts thinking. The next day, Zone learns that Jiang is the one dating Sumyong, and that he was the one who told her to bring her roommate along. This was Jiang's plan to meet Zone. To disrupt Jiang's plan, Leshan steps in. The three of them book the back seat in Jiang's car. Now the question arises, who will drive? Women can't drive cars, so Sumyong has to drive. It doesn't take long to realize that Jiang is not there for Sumyong, but to meet Zone. Then they all head to the Formula Racing event, where after the match, Zone feels unwell. Leshan sends Jiang to get some water, and Shumya and Umang accompany him. Leshan pulls out a water bottle from his bag and pats her back. Just then, Jiang arrives with the water bottle, and Zone ends up throwing up on him. After that, the match begins between Leshan and Jiang, and Leshan defeats Jiang. Zone is very happy, and afterward Leshan comes to drop Zone at her dormitory, where he presents his jealousy as evidence to Zone, asking her to return Jiang's jacket that she brought to wash. The next day, Zone brings a certificate for Leshan, so now he won't have to attend volleyball and dancing classes. He says he will attend volleyball class and beat Jiang, so he starts practicing a lot. The next day, during the match with Jiang, he performs exceptionally well, but due to exhaustion, he has to step out. Zone follows him closely. After a while, he faints. Zone takes him to the hospital, where the doctor informs them that this condition is due to an old injury he has not treated yet. If he delays treatment any further, he might not even be able to walk. Zone becomes very anxious. Just then, Leshan's sister arrives, who is very sad to see Leshan's condition. She thanks Zone for taking care of her brother. A few days later, without informing anyone, he discharged himself from the hospital and started coding while sitting quietly. Zohan asks him to stop sitting like that and insists he should get surgery. She mentions that there's a slight risk involved, to which Leshan responds that he won't undergo the surgery if there's even a 0.1% risk, because he doesn't want to live paralyzed for life. He'd rather die. Leshan's condition is genuinely deteriorating and he can't even bend now. He goes out to meet Zone, leaving a cover for her, and inside it were 2 concepts. He asks her sister to deliver them. She realizes that he knew his sister had come to visit him in the hospital. Zone goes with his sister to the concept, where Leshan's sister Lillian tells her that he used to listen to songs by this singer when he was young, meaning Leshan had promised her that he would take her with him using his money. Then they go into the concept and enjoy themselves a lot, while there are also some flashbacks showing how Leshan managed to keep himself together and how he changed. His journey is displayed. After the concept, she thanks her sister and tells her that Leshan always hides his care deep inside. He does care, but doesn't show it. However, he treats you the best. Then she tells her to be cautious. Not to believe everything he says, and to tease him a little. After her sister leaves, she sees someone and goes up to ask why he didn't meet them when he cares about them. Did he do it deliberately? She tells him that they thanked him and were very happy, and asked her to tease him. He replies that he knows delaying will worsen his condition, but he doesn't want to take any risks. She says, fine, but he has to move around every half hour. He will need physical therapies that can also be done in our college's medical room, so she says she will register his name tomorrow. He doesn't argue with this, so she takes him for treatment. While there, something breaks, and when she asks about it, he explains that it belonged to his dad who passed away and it was the last memory he had of them. She feels very bad for him. So many people were working hard on the app because winter holidays were starting and everyone was going home. But Zohan doesn't go home for Leshan. She lies to her mom that she needs to attend extra classes, but her mom doesn't like Leshan at all. She still thinks Leshan is a cheater, and if Zohan stays with him, she will spoil herself. So she sends Zohan's dad to the college to bring her home. Now Zohan's dad has seen Leshan and Zohan together, but he is quite supportive. He tells Zohan that they won't tell her mom this time, so Zohan goes home to take care of Leshan, where she first gets his lighter fixed. On New Year's Eve, Leshan calls from below her house, saying he's under her house. Zohan is excited to go out, but her mom stops her. However, after making many excuses, she finally manages to meet Leshan, who had gone to his hotel. After Zohan's mom falls asleep, she sneaks out to meet Leshan in his hotel room. Both of them are quite nervous because they love each other but can't express it. Zohan, feeling shy, tries to run away, but he stops her and gives her a beautiful dress as a gift. When she comes wearing it, Leshan can't take his eyes off her. Then they go to light a firebox, where Zohan gifts him the lighter she got fixed, making Leshan very happy. Zohan's friends realize she likes Leshan. After the holidays, everyone returns to college, where they scold Zohan for refusing to participate in a big competition. After some persuasion, he agrees, but their opponent is a guy named Zing, whom Zohan hates the most, because his deceit led her best friend to commit suicide. Zing doesn't care about this at all, so Zohan wants to defeat him in the competition at any cost. They work very hard, and Zing comes in first in the competition, while Zohan's team comes in second, leaving her very sad. Zing challenges Zohan on stage to hack into his program, which he does in just 1 minute, proving it to everyone with a video. It turns out that Zing had orchestrated it through other students, and he knew nothing about the program, leading to his disgrace. Later, when asked why he created all that chaos during the competition, Leshan says it was for his love, making Zohan very happy. While he's sitting with her and chatting, a girl named Lena, who really likes Leshan, unexpectedly kisses him, leaving him unresponsive. Seeing this, Zohan feels intense jealousy and worries that Lena may have proposed to him before she could express her feelings, fearing she might lose him. She immediately calls LaShawn to meet and gets all dressed up in the outfit he gifted her. After waiting a long time for him, when he still doesn't show up, she becomes very sad. Just then, he arrives from behind and confesses his love, kissing her. After that, they enter into a relationship. The next 3 years pass while they date, but during the final resolution exam, LaShawn doesn't show up. When Zohan asks about it, he tells her he wants to start his own company. Zohan supports him, and together they set up their office, naming the company Leshan LNP, which stands for Lighter and Princess. Meanwhile, a school friend of his offers to invest in his company, but he declines because he wants to do everything on his own from now on. His dating life with John is going well, and all the friends meet for dinner one last time before the farewell, reminiscing about their old memories. The competition was going to happen again, and Leshan and his team were fully prepared. However, Zing returned, seeking revenge for the previous insult, and this time he was even more powerful. Before the competition, he threatens Leshan, saying that if he doesn't apologize to Zing publicly for last time, he will ruin Leshan's and his team's career. Leshan responds that if Zing tries anything this time, he will make sure Zing faces the consequences again. Leshan's team wins first prize, but he apologizes to the committee for breaking the rules last time. In an unexpected turn, the committee cancels Leshan's team's first prize, and Leshan, Zun, and Gao are banned from participating in the competition. This was Zing's plan all along, leading Gao to become furious with Leshan. He tells Leshan to join his company, which only angers Gao even more, as he feels he has missed many opportunities because of Leshan. Eventually, Gao leaves the team. However, Zun continues to work with Leshan to further their company. Pilison gives interviews to promote his company. This leads Zun to find out that he is still with Leshan and works in his company, so she immediately calls Zun, asking her to convince Leshan to give up and go abroad for studies. But Zun firmly refuses. Then, Zun's mom starts saying terrible things about Leshan, causing Zun to get angry and leave. On the other hand, Zun seeks revenge by pretending that Leshan is her friend and takes them to a cheap hotel, where there is no mobile network, ensuring that Zun will be too busy finding her sister to prepare for the important event coming up. When Zun's sister goes to a shop outside that area, they get a call about the location, but while discussing it, they get into an accident with a truck and she doesn't survive, leaving Leshan completely shattered. When he discovers that Zun had taken his sister away, his anger begins to boil over. However, before doing anything with Zing, he focuses on his own affairs first, so he registers everything in the company under his name. Then, by pretending to be in a relationship with Lena, he breaks up with Jian, telling her that he had only pretended to love her, which breaks her heart. She still doesn't believe what Leshan said, and when she learns that Leshan was supposed to receive the first prize award, she realizes that he must be planning something wrong at the award ceremony, so she rushes there. At the award ceremony, just as Zing is about to receive his award, he attacks Leshan, beating him severely. Seeing this, Gao is delighted because before coming here, Leshan had transferred all the shares of his LNP company to Gao, allowing him to take the company forward and fulfill the purpose for which Leshan had started the company. However, the path to Gao's happiness was something else, which would be revealed later. The police arrive and arrest Leshan, charging him with attempted murder, resulting in a 3-year sentence. Thinking about this outcome, Leshan distanced himself from Zun so that she wouldn't face any problems. But what Leshan didn't know was that Zun had already ruined her own health. She had stopped eating and drinking. Her mom and dad, worried about her, tried to convince her friend Shahu to go abroad, but before leaving for abroad, Zun decides to meet Leshan, where she tells him that she knew he had pushed her away by pretending to be in a relationship with Lena, but she will never give up on him. In a bid to hurt her, Leshan coldly tells her that he only pretended to love Jian to take revenge on her mom. This devastates Zun, causing her to leave for abroad. Leshan did this solely to move forward in life and not to let her get distressed over him. Meanwhile, Gao starts showing his true colors because the company is now under his name. He begins to act recklessly, having originally set up the company to help in the medical field, but now he starts developing games to print money. As a result, he starts making a lot of money, and the company becomes very popular. Leshan goes to meet Zun, where he inquires about her work at the company. Gao shows his true colors and reveals that the company now solely belongs to him, and he plans to run it according to his own whims, leaving Leshan to rot in jail. Gao also tells Leshan that he has hated him from the very beginning. No one ever appreciated his talent because everyone praised leisure instead, and especially Lei Song always manipulated him, which is why he despises him the most. To hurt Leisure even further, Gao tells Leshan that he informed Zinky about his sister, infuriating Leshan and bringing joy to the arrogant Gao. Shifting back to the present, Zun visits Alan's company. Gao gives her a tour, but she soon realizes that Leisure has no stake in the company. On the contrary, Gao and Shin both have shares in it, and it doesn't take long for her to understand that Gao and Sing have deceived Leshan. Zun tells Gao that he will never be able to surpass Leshan's talent. After this, she decides to stay and support Leshan. However, Sha advises her not to tell her mom about any of this. Zun then attends a gaming event where Leshan is present along with many famous companies. Seeing Leshan there, Gao advises him to let go of his stubbornness and find another job because he will never reclaim LNP. Leshan tells him that traitors will surely face consequences. At the event, a small gaming company offers Leshan and Joyeon the opportunity to join their team. The CEO of the company, impressed by Joyeon's qualifications, decides to offer her a job, but states that they cannot hire Leshan unless he is with them. Zun insists that she will only join if Leshan is involved, so the company agrees. When Leshan confronts Joyeon about why she keeps appearing in front of him, she explains that she is doing all this for her company, LNP, in which she had invested her efforts, but had blindly trusted Leshan with her shares. She still doesn't want to include him, which is why she behaves this way, even though Zun has been made the team leader. They work hard on a new game together, and during this time, Zun tries to get closer to Lishan, but is met with rudeness. Meanwhile, Gao is worried about what will happen next because he knows Lishan is significantly more talented. He reassures himself that the small company will not be able to do anything alone. Observing the interactions between Lishan and Zun in the office, the other staff members begin to think of them as a couple. Despite his rude behavior towards Zun, he constantly worries about her. One day when it rains and Zun doesn't have an umbrella, Leshan lends her one. When she calls him to thank him, he doesn't pick up the unknown number. The next day, Zun saves his number on her phone. He continues to help her, and soon the team develops the game. Now they only need to design the game posters, and everyone starts working on it. Zun is helping with the designs when she visits his apartment, but overhears Sha talking and laughing with Zun while he is creating designs for the game. Seeing Zun with Sha, Leshan feels jealous and begins to speak rudely to Zun again, making her sad once more. We learn that Zun has been struggling to sleep without sleeping pills since her breakup, which has left her in a deep depression. The sleeping pills have a strong effect on her, causing her to faint. Sha takes her to the hospital, and shortly after, Leshan arrives. Sha informs him about Zun's condition, explaining that she hasn't been happy since he distanced himself from her. He then tells Leshan about her reliance on sleeping pills, making him feel guilty since he had no idea about her struggles. Determined to be a better person, he starts caring for Zun. He also learns what kind of game the company is developing and decides to create a similar game at his own company to launch it before theirs, which would severely impact their release. Meanwhile, he also seeks help from his professor's wife, who is quite popular, to promote their game, generating significant hype. However, Gao also promotes his game heavily, impacting its success. Having cheated, Gao is determined not to be left behind. Relying on his old friends from jail, Gao injects a virus into the game program from his laptop. Upon seeing this, ECAV realizes what's going on. However, putting that virus into the system is no easy task. So, Zinc uses his cunning mind to trace the laptop's IP address and files a police complaint, resulting in the police catching Gao and his friend. However, they manage to bail out. Gao's friend gets extremely angry because due to one mistake today, he has to go back to jail. Because of the news of their impending imprisonment, both of them are kicked out of their homes. Gao takes his leave, while Zun brings leisure to her company, and they both stay there overnight. The next morning, everyone at the office is shocked to see them together. A few days later, the company goes on a trip where they discuss new projects. Zun finds a photo of LaShawn and herself, confirming her suspicions that he still has feelings for her. She approaches LaShawn, asking him to forget everything and start anew. However, LaShawn, not wanting to hurt Zun anymore, keeps his distance. They come up with a new idea together, and during this time, they get closer. Since Zun doesn't have a place to stay, she offers him her extra apartment. Meanwhile, their company is in the final stages of developing the new game when Gao finds his old jail friend and bribes him to plant a virus in the game programming. When the jail friend realizes what's happening, he informs Gao, who starts to worry. She asks him what they should do, and he assures her he can handle his friend. Concerned about taking any wrong steps, she rushes to Lei Sang, who is just trying to scare his friend. However, Zun slaps Lei Sang out of concern, fearing he might repeat the mistakes he made 3 years ago. Lei Sang promises her that he will never do anything like that again. Their new game becomes hugely popular, earning them an award. Meanwhile, Gao and Xing face the brunt of the consequences once more. A few days later, Gao visits a doctor only to discover he has a brain tumor. He has become so consumed with work and defeating Lei Sang that he hasn't cared for himself. The surgery is quite risky, and he is reluctant to go through with it. He visits his college, where old memories flood back. After learning about his condition, Zun and LaShawn visit him, but he remains stubborn, refusing to seek help. As his condition worsens, they grow more worried, prompting them to encourage him to admit himself to the hospital. Gao doesn't want to undergo the operation, feeling guilty. Even though he didn't intentionally inform Zinc about her sister, he never expected her death, which was just a means to defeat Zinc. Perhaps now he realizes he can never truly win against him. Despite his reluctance, they convince him to have the operation, as he has forgiven Gao. The operation is successful, and Gao leaves the company behind to focus on his studies. He relinquishes his shares to the company. Meanwhile, the police arrest Zinc for financial fraud, leading to a merger between LNP and the gaming company, where Zun finally confesses her love for LaShawn. He admits that he loves her too. Now, when they visit Zun's mom to convince her, she initially refuses. However, as the story unfolds, they manage to persuade her, and they happily get married. Thus, their story concludes with a happy ending. So, what did you think of this drama? Be sure to let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed our recap, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out more recaps on our channel. Take care.